Now have our roll call. Randall Bohannon.
Here.
Rich Shine. Tim Middleton.
Here.
Karen Isberg.
Here.
Chad Wells.
Here.
Chris Sharp. Whitney Stepp. Here. Doug Curl.
Here.
Floyd Green.
Here.
Okay. Our commissioners, hopefully you had time to review the minutes that were in your packet. If not, please do so now. And when you're prepared to approve those, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second? Did you get that? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. So we have 8 plats we've got to get through tonight. The first one was filed by William and Teresa Goodlett, and I'm going to let Kim talk us through that one.
This is a consolidation plat from an in-family conveyance plat several years ago. This was done by Banks Engineering, and they are here if you all have any questions. They are taking this back to a total of 62.51 acres. It went through TRC, and all deficiencies were corrected and is in order.
Any questions from the commission?
There are 2 homes on this property, and there is a note on the plat that states that these homes located at 284 and 12391 Troy Pike will be tenant homes only.
Hearing no questions, is anyone prepared to make a motion?
Does that mean the houses can't be torn down?
They can be torn down.
Okay.
They're restricted how they can be used. So you can only have one house per lot. And then now you can do one accessory dwelling per lot. But prior to that, you could have tenant homes on a farm. So a farm can have multiple dwellings as long as the tenant homes are used. So it restricts who can live in the tenant homes. They have to be an employee of the farm. And as Kim mentioned, these were 2 in-families that were done years ago, but they were never deeded. And now they're pushing it all back into one parcel. And the result of that, you're going to have 3 homes on one track, which doesn't gel for a principal home and an accessory dwelling. But you could have tenant houses. So what the owner's doing is going to designate those 2 homes as tenant homes going into the future. And that's note number 9, I believe, that she mentioned on the plat.
Any other questions? Anyone here from the public that has a comment on this plat? Okay.
I'll move for approval of this.
Turn your mic on, Chad. Sorry. You're fine.
I'll move for approval of this subdivision consolidation plat on 62.510 acres located at 208, 284, and 422 Curd Lane and 12391 Troy Pike, Wilmore.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's approved. Thank you, Kim. All right, number 2, we have Tim and Rita Maple. Kim will walk us through that one as well.
This is located on Shore Acres Road, down in the Millville area. This was 2 lots that they have consolidated to make one large lot because the lot line went through part of the house. This was very normal down in the river area, so This recently sold to Tim and Rita Maple, and they are going to do some renovations, and so they came to the office, and that's when they realized that this property line went through the house. So they're cleaning this up, and that's about it. It went through TRC. All deficiencies were corrected.
Any questions pertaining to this application? It's pretty straightforward. Anyone in the public here on this plat? All right, good deal. Is anyone prepared to take action?
I make a motion to approve the subdivision consolidation plat for the tracts of land, .733 acres located at 1478 Shore Avenue, or Shore Acres in Frankfurt.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving right along. And I think Steve's going to walk us through number 3, which is filed by 2001 Lexington Road LLC. Is that what they call themselves? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna do the next 4 plats. The aerial's up on the screen that shows this property is, and I think you are familiar with this property. Ball Homes has been working down there on the south side by the parkway. And what has kind of happened here is the middle section of this has been sold. And so there's a remnant piece that's kind of, that you see the parcel that's kind of going from US 60, the second parcel down. And what the property owner is doing with this plat, again, this is a zoning map showing the property. And what they're doing with this plat is they're just consolidating the 2 pieces. So you still have a front track, and then there'll be a second track, and then from that point south is owned by Ball Homes as they continue their project. So they're just consolidating the middle portion of this property into 1 lot. So they'll have kind of 2 lots remaining as you go from 60 south. We do have a preliminary development plan for the entire property. It's 518 units. Ball Homes is currently working on 200 homes. You can kind of see those that are platted here, down there in the south, and then they own that next section. So again, this is just it's a minor plat because we're just reconsolidating the big pieces for sale purposes. And then, but there is a preliminary development plan for the entire, that doesn't change. There's construction plans already filed for the entire development, that doesn't change. This just splits these 2 properties into more equal portions. The plat is technically correct, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. There is a representative from Eagle Engineering if you guys have any technical questions about the plat.
Any questions? No. You have a question?
Yes, I do. Right now, everything has to come out through the stoplight up there, the paddock.
No,
Is there huh?
You're further east.
I'm further
than that.
east, but
yeah.
is there going to ever be an entrance out onto 60 out of this
Yes.
property?
Yeah, so this property, of course, we're not looking at that today, but this entire development plan is 518 lots.
Right.
And there is a plat, and there's an entrance up there on US 60 on the western edge of the property here.
Right.
It would be out on US 60, and then the next parcel over is owned by a different developer. They have an entrance that's right across from Frontier Nursing.
Correct.
And so at this point, what's been discussed is there's been a developer looking at that northern piece that the state has told them that's going to have to function as a right in, right out only. And so would the next parcel over. And then those would be part of a big R cut that would be between Payne's Mill and the Parkway ramps. So everything's going to have to go right and go down, do a U-turn, come back. So there is proposed entrances, and they're in the construction plans now. But there's no project right now currently to start construction on that piece. Yeah, all 518 homes would come out on US 60, but there's several stub streets that you can see to the west, and there'll be stub streets to the east also. But there would be no traffic light that any of this would get to unless they kind of go back through the subdivision and get their way back to Paddock.
I just noticed the traffic and all these homes that, ball homes is doing back there has to be funneled out onto Paddock.
Yeah, well, some of them, right now, you can get down to Huntertown Road too, and you can
Well,
zigzag
either-
all through
either
the
way,
subdivision.
okay.
You can
Alright.
cut over Tishner and get all the way over to Marcel's, and so, yeah, right now, but at this point, this is just putting the big pieces together, but as we see development occur into the other pieces, I think the state's going to be playing a role on how all this would hit US 60. At some point, I think both developers thought there could potentially be a traffic light that would serve them, and the state's made it pretty clear there's not going to be a traffic light at either project.
Okay.
Everything's going to go right and either function through an R cut, and then you turn back to the other way if you have to go west.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any additional questions? Anyone from the public here on this plat? Good deal. If there's no further discussion or questions, we are prepared to entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the subdivision minor plat on 80.848 acres at 1851 and 2001 Lexington Road, Versailles.
Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Perfect. Moving on to Miss Julie Cawthon. Hope I'm saying that right. Steve's gonna walk us through that.
Will we ever get out on that these days? Yeah.
You guys ready for this one?
Yes.
All right, this is a property just outside of Midway, city of Midway. In fact, you can see the green line right there. That's the urban service boundary as well as the city. I put an extra exhibit in here because this is a little different, but this parcel right here, actually a portion of it you can see is in the city limits. The majority of the property is outside the city limits. The majority of the property is zoned agriculture. There's a sliver of it zoned single family. So that looks more complicated than really what's happening here, because what is happening is this is an in-family conveyance, and it was filed before the rules changed. And I want to clarify one thing. You see the date on the plat says March the 5th it's received. That's because the plat's been corrected a few times. The actual filing of this plat was before February 10th. So the fiscal court adopted the new in-family conveyance rules on February the 10th. But we had 4 or 5 plats filed before that are going through the old way. And this is a spouse-to-spouse conveyance, for example, but these were filed before the rules changed. That date on the plat is just the date of the most recent corrected plat that's came into our office. But the application and the first draft of the plat, all of those were filed before February 10th. So this is going through the old way. And again, this is a wife-to-husband or spouse-to-spouse conveyance. And what they're doing is creating a tract that's 12.5 acres up there off Circle Drive. You can see on the west, and the remainder of the farm that's 61 acres and some change would be the second tract to the east that would front US 62. So again, it's an in-family conveyance, and the reason is because tract 2 is less than 30 acres in size and is in the ag zone. So again, this is coming in under the old rules. And there's a couple of these plats that you're going to continue to see. There's another one, I believe tonight, and another one that still hasn't got to the point where it's ready for the commission to see. So again, these were filed the old way, and what we did is when the rules changed, we decided that the date the applications were filed would dictate whether they're under the new rules or the old rules. The plat is technically correct. Everything that typically you would see on a plat of this nature is on it, and it's been corrected, and it's ready for approval if y'all see fit. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have on this plat.
Any questions from the commissioners?
Is this plat, moving forward, is it still able to have another in-family conveyance put on?
It's a good question, and the answer would be yes. So And what the commissioner's saying here is so the way the new rules are, it looks at your property based on the January 1, 26 date. And if you were 31 acres to 50, you get one, and if you're 50 and greater, you potentially could have two. So this property on January 1, 26 was one parcel that you see the whole size here, which is 74 acres almost. So it's eligible the old way, and potentially it'd be eligible the new way at some point in the future. And interesting enough, the remainder is 61 acres, so in theory, that could be divided into two 30-acre tracts as, you know, conforming ag tracts. I don't know if that's the property owner's intention. I think their intention now is to subdivide this tract to 12 acres and build a home over on the western part of the property that would front Circle Drive.
And on the side, the city side, it's zoned R1B, so that could also be.
Yeah, that's interesting. It is zoned R1B, and it does have frontage on US 62, so in theory, that part could be divided off also. Or maybe a lot created at the end of Marywood or something of that nature. So it has different potentials, but trying to keep it simple tonight, what the applicants indicated to us was simply they're just doing an in-family conveyance, cutting this one farm into two pieces under the old rules. But going forward, yes, there could be other development potentials there, but I can't speak to what those might be or what their ultimately plans could be into the future. I believe surveyor's here. I don't know if the property owner's here or not.
No, I was just curious.
Any other questions? Any comments from the public? Okay. Hearing none, and with the understanding that we're operating under the old rules, is anyone prepared to take action on this? If there's no questions or discussion, surely someone's ready to take action.
I move that we approve the family conveyance plat, 74.221 acres on 166 Circle Drive, Midway, Kentucky.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, approved. Okay, Steve, moving on to Jeremy and Megan Hendricks.
Yeah, this one's going to be a little messy here, but we'll try to walk you through it. It's got a little bit of a history, but it's a fairly simple plat, but I need to explain what's happening here. So if you look at the aerial to start with, a couple things to note. This property was rezoned here recently from agriculture to what we call rural residential. Most rural residential zone changes are ones with an internal street, and they might be 10 or 15 lots. This was a 2-lot rural residential zone change that we did just a couple years back on McCown's Ferry that was basically 15 acres, and both these lots were in the range of 7 acres or so. And so it was a 2-lot rural residential, and what you can see with the exhibit we got at that time on the zone change is they created, they're sharing a driveway, and they created the building footprints, which you see is the RR footprint. Those aren't separate lots. The lots are a combination of the RR and the residual farmland. And they created 2 lots with the intention that there'd be 2 homes built there, share a driveway, and they would each have their home, and then they'd have a residual farmland. What happened was the property went for sale, and one person bought both lots and is now getting ready to build a home. And I want to go back to the aerial for a minute, because you can see the old driveway and the old, where obviously there was a house. What has happened is when this zone change came forward, the idea was, and you can see that driveway a little bit underneath the zoning, the idea was these homes would be in the location you see there. The property owner that's bought it now has indicated that it's a better build site further to the north. It's flatter. This thing kind of falls off a hill a little bit, and it's not his intention to try to build a home kind of up here in the property. So what he's doing with this plat is a couple things. He's in a sense reallocating these splits. It's still going to be an 80-20 split for the residual farmland and the rural residential, but he wants to move his build box a little bit to the north where it's flatter, And then the 2 lot splits, he's reconfiguring those where they'll still share a driveway, but because his house is literally going to be in the area where that lot line is, a lot like what Kim mentioned earlier, that lot line would be right on top of his potential house. So what the plat is doing is this, which is it's creating his build box or his building right box. This isn't highlighted, but it's the rectangle in the middle, right in the center. The rest is residual farmland, and then there's the second lot stays at the edge of the driveway to the east and is just the residual farmland down in the kind of southeast part of the lot. So you see lot 1's 3.996 acres. That would all be residual farmland that he would also retain, but it gives him the ability to have a separate lot because the original zone change was for 2 lots, and the rest of the property would be, the remainder would be 11 acres. So the old splits were 7 and 7s in that range, and now they're 4 and 11. But his footprint that he can build in then is shifting to the north. Another issue that's a side issue is to shift it a little closer to that property line to the north, he's going to need a variance, and he's filed a variance application that goes before the Board of Adjustments on April 6th. But his idea is he'd also like to, he's maintaining the 50-foot landscape buffer that the rural residential requires, but the 150-foot building setback line, when you're adjacent to agriculture, he's asking for a variance so he can make sure his house stays up on the flat part of the property. And again, you go back and look at the aerial, you can kind of, again, see it all together. Historically, there was a house further up the hill in that footprint, and that's his desire to build his house up in that area as opposed to further down to the south. So he needs the plat to be revised to move the lot line so it doesn't go through his house. He needs to put these 2 rural residential boxes together so he can build his home on a bigger footprint than these 2 footprints, and then he needs the variance to be able to scoot it to the north. So there's kind of a lot happening here, but the plat is kind of the first step to get the lot cleaned up so he can basically build the house that he intends to build. It's not only going to be a house, there's going to be a pool and a detached garage. So there's a whole lot more happening with this home build than I think was initially thought that would happen in these smaller tracts here, shaped like they are. He'll probably, in fact, consume most of that box there that's almost 3 acres in size for his home build. And he has to have a septic system on top of that. So the plat is just
So
cleaning up.
we had 2 lots.
We had 2 lots.
He's taking the best part to build his house on, leaving the rest of it going to be left farmland?
It's residual farmland. Yeah, they'll have to, that's all you can use it for.
So nothing else can be built? That's what you're saying?
That's what the zoning would be. Yeah, the residual farmland can't be built in. You can build barns and agriculture buildings, but you can't have dwellings.
Right.
You can't have urban structures like pools or garages. You can have agricultural buildings. But we talked to him at length about, why wouldn't you just take the lot line out and just keep it as 1 lot?
That's what I'm saying. Why don't you just take it 1 lot?
Well, he has the 2 lot rights, and he didn't want to lose them, and he thought, well, maybe some point, maybe a neighbor buys that.
If you can't build on it, who's going to want it?
Someone may want it, but he kicked around making it west side, east side, and ultimately he worked with the surveyor there to iron out. But I think the immediate need is he's ready to build a house. And he needs to get the yellow box slid to the north, and he needs to get his variance so he can start his home construction project. And again, the surveyor's here, he might be able to, they had more conversation about it, but I think that the intention was, the way I understood it, is just make sure that there were still 2 lots of record so that down the road it wouldn't be confusing that it now is only 1. He wants to retain those rights. For 2 lots. But yeah, the lot 1 would be 100% residual farmland. And then lot 2, which will be the 11 acres, will be split between 3 and 8 acres. So everything that's residual is restricted going forward.
The 8 acres is all restricted.
It's restricted too, yes.
He doesn't need that variance that you mentioned to have this plat approved. If the variance is not agreed,
He's got to scoot it forward.
he still put the house.
Forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the building setback line on the plat, 150 foot. His desire is to shift it back, but to Mr. Endicott's point, if the variance is denied for some reason in April, he's still got enough room to slide the house. But his goal is to get the house up on the flatter part of the property where I guess the original house was. Sounds like he's forfeiting the building right.
If you're gonna speak from the audience, you need to come up to the mic.
He is forfeiting the building right. But we plat residual in all different sizes and shapes in these different subdivisions, and different people own them. He did not want the line to go straight down the driveway. He wanted to shift it over to the edge, and he needed to get that line out of the middle so it wouldn't affect his building footprint.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, the plat is technically correct. Malcolm Endicott's here. If you guys have any questions about the plat, it went through TRC. It was recommended to come to you all for approval.
Any questions? Additional questions? Look, he's in here.
It's a live dog.
Yeah. In the next room.
It's on a leash. I can tell.
Anyone from the public have any concerns or questions or comments? Okay. Do we have anyone prepared to act?
What is pending for April the 8th?
Excuse me?
Something is pending to be done.
Yeah, a variance. He's asking for a dimensional variance from the required 150-foot setback to the rear because it's a rural residential property. That would go before the Board of Adjustments on April 6th.
Necessary to build, but not for plat approval, right?
Exactly right.
Any additional questions?
I'll move that we approve this subdivision minor plat of 15.107 acres located at 1605 McAllen's Ferry for sales.
Thank you. Any second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Moving on to Edgewood Farm LLC.
Yeah, so you all have seen a lot of plats recently and a lot of different things happening on what they call Edgewood Farm. This is the eastern portion of Edgewood, and this is really a cleanup plat to some degree here, and I'll explain what's happening. This is the zoning lines, and you can see this east side of the property is zoned B4, highway business, commercial, and then P1, which is professional office that's over at the corner. This is what the plat is doing, and it's pretty straightforward. The city contractually is getting ready to build another roundabout, very similar to this on the other side by, it used to be called Kroger Way, now it's called Governor's, is it Governor's Lane or whatever it's called? Yeah, it's
I
Governor's
didn't
Lane.
change either.
So as you go into that, that's Governor's Lane, and it becomes Kroger Way at the 9 o'clock point of the roundabout going west. And it has a different name off the roundabout on it.
Edgewood?
No, behind the,
Couple, two different.
going into, isn't it Governor's Way, then it turns into something?
Straight, going straight.
All the way straight,
Governor's.
all the way through the roundabout too.
Yes.
Okay, then it's Edgewood going the new road, right. And it's Jenkins on a different road. So what this is creating that, it looks like a cross shape there, that is future right-of-way that will be conveyed to the city so they can build the second roundabout at Paddock. So the city contractually has to build 350 foot of roadway, and it'll be a roundabout shape that'll be very similar to the other side. And then what that does, and I put an extra exhibit in here, this is the plat that you all approved where the development's going west of there, and you can see the other roundabout roadway. And then the main road, it's going to be Edgewood Road that comes across, new frontage road, and Jenkins Road's a little right in, right out. That's going to all be built by the developer here real soon. And then this roadway heads over to Paddock, and then the city builds that other roundabout leg at the Paddock intersection. So this plat is doing that. It's creating that right-of-way in the Edgewood Farm, and at the same time, it's creating 3 lots that you see, a lot down on the corner, and then a lot that really fits that office professional, and the rest of his business is just the residual is what's left. So if you go back and look at the parcel right now, you can see this is all one big lot And this plat turns it into basically 3 lots with the right-of-way for future dedication. It's housekeeping because the city then has to, I believe they contractually have to have that road built by the end of the year. Very similar to the other roundabout. There's no projects that we're aware of that are happening on these 3 lots at this point. The projects we know are happening on these lots that you guys have already approved on the west side of this property. But these road networks all tied together. That's why I wanted to show you both plats. But the plat we're looking at tonight, that Thoroughbred Engineering did, is technically correct. It's a cleanup plat, and again, it's a plat between the Edgewood Farm LLC, and it'll ultimately be, some of this property will be going to the city of Versailles, so they can start their road project. Interesting note, just want to point out too, the shaded area on the east along Paynes Mill, this deed goes to the center of the road. It's an old deed, like a lot of deeds do. It goes to the center of the road. Clearly, they don't own the roadway. That's a county road with right-of-way. So that the eastern edge of this dedicates that, cleans up that deed and puts the right-of-way kind of where it should be. Again, you can see the roadway there. You can see the right-of-way edge. The plat also cleans up that deed that calls for it to go to the center road and stops it at the edge of what we know is the current right-of-way. So in a sense, it's making a dedication to the county to clean up that right-of-way edge at the same time.
Is that road is it going to eventually extend all the way to Paynes? I'm just curious.
So right now, the road just dead ends where you see it. There's
Yeah.
been a conceptual plan that there could be a road network that meanders to the north that would serve the High Bramble facility.
Oh, I see. It goes up. Yeah.
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 It would just keep going. But the issue is, if you go back and look at the aerial, I keep going the wrong way. Well, it's off the map. There's floodplain up there.
Yeah.
And you'd have to get across that. But the overall concept would be this road goes here, it connects with the frontage road, but then it potentially could go all the way up and move to the northeast and would connect to the High Bramble facility.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that connects to
And that connects to
Paynes
Paynes
Mill.
Mill.
That's where it'll connect
High
to
Bramble,
Paynes Mill.
because you
Oh,
go,
yeah.
you go all the
yeah.
way down High Bramble to get into.
Yeah, I was wondering about
Paynes
coming
Mill
across
to get
that
into High
flood
Bramble,
zone with
yeah.
the road.
But right now, all the traffic that goes back to High Bramble and the counter comes down Paynes Mill.
Yeah.
But there's no access plan on Paynes Mill anywhere along these lots that you see right
Oh.
here at this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I have, unless y'all have any questions.
Any other questions or discussion from the commission? Any comment from the public? Seeing none, is anyone prepared to act?
I move to approve the major plat on the tract of land containing 43.060 acres located at 1528 Lexington Road, Versailles, Kentucky.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on. Gregory and Patricia Osterloh and Michael and Susan Tucker have applied for an approval of a subdivision, and Kim's going to walk us through this one.
This is a puzzle. This one is. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Steve's got it up on the monitor. So this technically was 3 lots is what we're dealing with, and the new tract E was actually the large lot on the east side. That was split into 2 tracts. E1 and E2 are the new tracts. It also consolidated part of E1 to D1, which is the new tract. So you have 3 tracts. One is a little over 10 acres. One is left at 19.9 acres. And then D1 is also a little over 10 and a half acres. New tract E2 was already configured that way to get road frontage. And then this plat is creating new tract E1, and as you can tell, has the same type of road frontage. It went through TRC. I know it looks confusing. I had to get out markers and color each line and make sure everything was connected properly. So it is missing an address in the title block, which we will add. It's 410 Sellers Mill. That's the new tract E1 that we need to add in there. Other than that, everything else is in order. If you have any questions.
The other thing I'll add on the zoning map, because it's small community zoning, was the lots can be as small as 1 acre. That's why they were able to create 10-acre tracts, and the other tract be 19, and these aren't 30-acre requirements. We're in the small community, and even the frontage up there on Sellers Mills is actually zoned single family. And so you can have 1-acre tracts in the SC portion. So that's how they were able to create 10-acre tracts. They could have been a lot smaller technically, but this size, so it was proposed.
But now that they're, with this road frontage set up the way it is, it has to stay 10 acres. It can't.
It's 10 acres today. I mean, in theory, again, I don't know if there's any future plans, but because these can be 1-acre tracts, like for example, I guess in theory, it comes down to how much frontage is left, and it doesn't appear that you could create another lot on, like track E couldn't become another lot because there's not enough frontage up there. But track E2, potentially, you might be able to do another lot if you had 150 foot up there on the north edge, that you could do another strip down there, and there's potentially it could be divided, I guess, in theory. You're going to get as many lots in this small community zone as you have 150 foot frontage.
Understood. Okay. Understand.
So there is potential, but I think right now the plan is to create these 10-acre tracts, and the rest is really the remainder.
Thank you, Kim. Any questions from the commission? Any additional questions? Comment, concern, questions from the public? Okay. Is anyone prepared to act? We have the building all night, so.
I move that we approve the consolidation plat on tracts of land containing 41.40 acres located at 110, 150, and 400 Sellers Mill Road.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Our last one. Corey Pence has applied for a subdivision. This is an in-family conveyance, and this is under the old rules.
Under the old rules, this is the easiest one we've got tonight. There's an existing home on the property, and that's what they are conveying. It's husband to wife. I do have to note that this was in an LLC, and they have a new deed now, taking it out of the LLC into Corey's name so that he can convey this to his wife. Conveying 4.018 acres. This is on Shannon Run Road, and part of this farm goes over into Fayette County as well, so it's right on the county line. It went through TRC, and all deficiencies had been corrected and is in order.
Any questions from the commission? Okay, hearing none, is anyone prepared to act on our final action for the night?
I move that we approve this in-family conveyance plat containing 70.582 acres located at 1010 Shannon Run.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, it's approved. We'll move on to other business items. First, we have our fiscal year 2027 preliminary budget. I'm going to have Steve walk us through that.
Yeah, you guys got the budget in your packet there? So, pretty quickly, the Personnel Budget Committee met. This is our preliminary budget. So for some of the new commissioners on here, what we do every year is we put together a preliminary budget because at this point in time, we don't know all our revenue streams yet for the current year. We don't have our healthcare quotes for next year. And what this preliminary budget really does is our best guess at this point on what our carryover is, where our revenues will come in this year. But really what it is an authorization from the Planning Commission for us to make a request from the parent governments, the City of Versailles, City of Midway, and Woodford County to support on what we were asking from them on the allocations. So at this point,
Steve, I'm sorry, turn your mic on, please.
we're putting together a preliminary budget request, so then we'll send that to the governments and say, here's what we're asking for. Then we wait until June, May or June, to know if they're going to grant that. We'll come back with the budget committee probably in May, and we'll clean up some things. We'll know better revenue numbers. We'll know better carryover numbers. We'll also know if the governments are going to make that request. We'll have our healthcare quotes, and we'll do what's called a final budget later in the year. And then you all will adopt a final budget before the new fiscal year. A couple things I just want to point out on this budget, and you see there's numbers on the right that I'll reference here that go down the spreadsheet. The first one's number 1. That's our projected carryover for the next fiscal year, and if you can just look right to the left, you can see our carryover is projected to be a lot less than the prior year and a lot less than prior years. Sometimes that carryover has been as high as $200,000+. Over the years, the carryover has dwindled, and we know that, but this year it's kind of all coming to fruition here, and that's the lowest carryover number we're looking at in the last few years. So the reason I point that out is right now it's $99,377, but if we have a good spring, building permit wise, decent revenues come in more than we're projecting at this point in time, and it's hard to project what building permits may come in. There's a good chance that number could be similar to last year at 138, could be 150. We just don't know at this point till we get through the next quarter or 2 quarters of the year, really make sure where we're at permit wise. And then it dominoes down to lines 2, 3, and 4. We're asking the governments for a little bit more money than we did last year because of the reduced carryover. And the budget's a lot tighter this year than years prior. So we're asking for $120,000 from the county, $120,000 from City of Versailles, and Midway $30,000. And the way that works is it's a formula of ninths. The governments participate in what's called a ninths formula. Versailles is 4 ninths, county's 4 ninths, and Midway's 1 ninth. So historically, whatever the planning commission asked of the governments, it's split that way between them. So it's a little bit more from the county. It's a little larger from the city because last year the city number was adjusted when the engineering contract was put together. But we're getting it back in line in equal shares. So again, for the county, it's just a little bit over just under $7,500. It's a little more for the city. It's less than $2,000 for the City of Midway. Our revenues are projected similar, but they're a little higher in the building permit aspect. So if you look at line 23, our projected revenues are supposed to be $402,650, but again, that's a tentative number until we know what our final carryover is, and then we know if the government's going to fund us at that. Move down to line 35, we're in our personnel category, and you can see our personnel costs have been cut a little bit. From last year, you can just look to the left and see where we're at on the current year.